Kia ora koutou. At a recent session of our systematic theology group, we came across a theology called dispensationalism. And many, including myself, really didn't have a good handle on what this theology actually was. So I thought, time to do some research. So I could actually figure out what dispensationalism was all about. So, if people do say that they take a dispensationalist view of the Bible, what does it actually mean? Well, dispensationalists believe that history is broken up into multiple ages, and these are what they call dispensations. And each of these ages represents a way that God acts with his chosen people. And traditionally, there are seven ages or dispensations, and they are Genesis 1, verse 1 to 3, verse 7. So that's what's called the age of innocence. Then we go to Genesis 3, verse 8, through to Genesis 7:22, and that is the age of conscience. Then at the start of Genesis 9, so Genesis 9, verse 1, through to Genesis 11, verse 32, the age becomes the age of human governance. Genesis 12, verse 1, through to Exodus 19, verse 25, is the age of promise. Exodus 20, verse 1 to Acts 2, verse 4, so we're now in the New Testament, is the age of the law. So, where the Mosaic law is the way that God interacts with his chosen people. From Acts 2, verse 5 through to Revelation 20, verse 3, dispensationalists call this age the age of grace. And then Revelation 20, verses 4 to 6, is the age when the millennial kingdom is in play. And these ages or dispensations, are taken from a literal translation of the Bible. And because of that, dispensationalists often believe that the millennial kingdom happens after Jesus has physically returned to the earth and he is reigning for a literal 1,000 years, a messianic age of peace, and that the Christians have actually been taken out of history prior to the second coming of Christ. So they believe in what we call the rapture is happening prior to the second coming of Christ. And so that means that they are pre-millennialists in their thinking. So they believe that Christians are taken out before the millennial kingdom actually starts. Of course, with all theologies, there are people that believe certain parts of the theologies and not all of the theologies. So I'm sure there must be dispensationalists who maybe aren't pre-millennialists, for example. Many dispensationalists also believe that there is a distinction between Israel and the church and how God actually deals with these groups of people. And that means that dispensationalists believe that the promises made to Israel in the Old Testament will only be fulfilled in the literal 1,000-year reign of Christ, referred to in Revelation 20. And they believe that Christians are not bound by the Messianic law or the rules that we see in the Old Testament. Another point about the millennium is that many dispensationalists also believe that during this age there will be a mass conversion of Jews to Christians, or Messianic Christians, as they're often called these days. Now, I'm sure that we could go into a lot more detail about the theology of dispensationalists, but this video doesn't really allow for that. So I'm going to leave the discussion of dispensationalists there and ask you what are your thoughts. Perhaps you'd like to do some more research to dig deeper into some of those items that I've brought up. And do any of those items that I have brought up in the video resonate with you? Are you thinking, oh, I might actually be a dispensationalist? So questions to leave with you. Until next time, ka kite.